people get overwhelmed because there is a lot of information out there. There's a lot of free stuff, YouTube, Instagram, whatever. You can find what you're looking for. But a lot of people go, okay, I'm going to try this trainer's stuff for a little while, and then I'll try this one. And it's like, if you're trying 10 different trainers and you're applying 10% of each of what they're saying, you're probably just getting a really confused dog. Hi, everyone. My name is Matthew, and today I'm joined by Elise Claridge on the Pet to Pal podcast. Elise, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Matt. It's awesome to be here.
Nice to finally officially meet. I know we've communicated and chatted a little bit, but nice to finally be able to sit down and talk a little bit more in depth.
Yeah. It's funny how that kind of works. It starts off virtual and then...
Yeah, internet friends.
The first face-to-face, you make me do a podcast.
Sorry. We're throwing you right in the deep end.
Seriously.
But yeah, so Elise just opened a spot up in Barrie, Nordik K9. We'll kind of get into that. But why don't you kind of tell me a little bit about, how you got into the industry, how you kind of, found the passion for working with dogs, and what led to, your new facility, and kind of how you got here.
Sure. So I guess, probably like all of us, most of us, I assume, grew up with dogs, and, I always loved dogs. But probably where I started to really become very passionate about dogs was actually when I was in the military, specifically in Afghanistan. The K9, I guess, kennels were right next to where I was housed, in Kandahar. And when I wasn't doing, my job, I was basically over there fangirling with the K9 guys and trying to pick their brains about things, learn what I could, and just all around hang out with them. And so I really saw, I was completely mesmerized by the work that these guys were doing, and with the work with the dogs, especially in a theater of war. And then when I came back to Canada, I thought, that's what I want to do. I want to get into dogs. Didn't know a thing. I was in my early 20s, and reached out to a few places that seemed eager to take on, a young, fresh soldier that had just come back from the war. But nothing, unfortunately, panned out. It wasn't really something that we were utilizing heavily here in Canada. In fact, to my knowledge, there was really nothing from what I can remember. It was all, and those guys were all basically American contracts, and they would take from abroad, but there was nothing in Canada to that level. So I ended up kind of shifting gears. I went the route of medicine, and ended up going to school for paramedicine.
Oh, nice.
Ended up becoming a medic then in the military.
Cool.
And all the dog stuff kind of just went away. But, and then fast forward a few years, and now I'm in a place called Trenton, which is the air base just a little ways east of here. And I decide, you know what, I'd like to give dog handling, like more of that a shot. We were trying to look at potentially starting up a military working dog program within the Canadian military. A few of us had the idea, very naive, we thought we could change the system. So I ended up acquiring a Dutch Shepherd. He was a year old. And again, being very, very naive, he ended up being way more dog than I knew how to handle. And
many such cases.
Right? I think all of us start off that way.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a little guy. He was about a year old, and he was just shy of 90 pounds at that point.
Okay.
And very, very, very food aggressive. So even back then, the trainers that I was looking to, especially in the world that I am from, were leaned very heavily on, fear-based pause or punish that dog, make him. Yeah. He will fear you, therefore he will respect you.
Very alpha.
Very alpha mentality. Like that dog, if he goes toe-to-toe with you again, basically you're going to hang this dog and blah, blah, blah. Oh. And I was like, okay, there's all 120 pounds of me and this almost 90-pound Dutch Shepherd. And so the first thing I tried of this technique when he decided to show some aggression, food aggression towards me, I tried that technique, and this dog came up and latched himself onto my bicep and just shredded me. So at that point, I realized, okay, that this isn't working.
Try a different option.
And this went on for the better part of probably a few months. And I kind of tease that I very quickly became the the test subject, I guess,
Yep.
for my fellow medics to practice suturing on.
Probably not a role you wanted to
exactly.
voluntarily
Like,
use.
hey, Elise got eaten by your dog again. Let's practice suturing. So I'd like, hang my head in shame, walk of shame into my clinic, and they'd all be like eager with the suture material, like, yay, we're gonna learn this new technique today. And I was like, okay, as much as I'm glad you guys are learning, I'm getting eaten here. So I ended up reaching out to Mike Ritlin, and I don't know if you're familiar with him.
No.
So he is has his own podcast and
Nice.
really kind of set things up. He's a former Navy SEAL.
Oh, awesome.
Who now is very passionate about previous working dogs, retired working dogs, and creating. He does the Warrior Dog Foundation. Anyways, I basically sent him a collage of all my bites that this dog has had, and like I'm not talking, tag my hand. Like I'm talking like
Serious bites.
Serious bites. And he's like, Elise, you got to make this dog your best friend. He's like, this dog is like pretty much hates you.
Yeah.
Because of everything that you've been doing in the past. He's like, you need to completely reset and make this dog your best friend. Like it's not about, control. Yeah. It's about teamwork. Mm-hmm. Like just how we are in the military, right? He's like, you trust your guy next to you and so forth. And he's like, just make this guy your best friend. And that really changed the dynamic of the relationship of me and this dog. So we basically, it was all about going for hikes, and it was all about doing fun bite work that wasn't civil.
Yeah.
It was about, trying to create some equipment fixation for a dog like him. And
it's like harnessing that drive and
100%.
putting it into a productive outlet.
Exactly. And respecting his space. And something that I'm very passionate about is managing my expectations and trying to convey that to my clients, where it's, will that dog and I ever be able to be 100% trusting of each other? No. But I can create environments and control situations that keep me and him safe.
For sure.
And, people who come into my house, will he be a dog that can sleep on my pillow and we get all snuggly? No. Do I have to give him belly rubs? No. Like, respect his space, he'll respect mine. And did we have setbacks? Absolutely.
Sure.
But, unfortunately, I just lost him a few months ago.
I'm sorry.
But, you couldn't have offered me $1 million at the end of the day for that dog. No. At the end of his life. Like, he just lived to work with me. Yeah. And I don't say for me, I say truly with me.
Yeah, it's because you're right. It's a partnership, right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good point about, managing not only your expectations, but the environment. Because there are a lot of dogs that, like you said, just are never going to be the couch potato cuddle buddy that somebody wants. But
absolutely,
it doesn't mean you can't still have a good life, a good partnership with this dog, and whether it's a working dog or a pet dog or whatever it might be. And I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with. Mm-hmm. Is, they think of training as obedience or whatever, when I don't want to say a lot, most cases are probably relationship building.
100%.
Right? Nobody wants to hear, hey, you and your dog don't have a good relationship. You're like, what do you mean? I kiss him and I cuddle him and I give him cookies and I love him and he loves me. Like but, when you kind of dive into like, well, that's not what builds a good relationship with a dog, right? Like that
100%.
Stuff's fine, but it's not fulfilling enough. It doesn't get you all the way there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's, like, okay, it's fun, maybe for you, you think that's, coming home and giving him a treat every day. For us, it was, it was going out for hikes, mm-hmm. and I would take him mountain biking with me. And
finding what your dog is motivated by and what your dog enjoys, right?
You got it.
It's like love languages,
100%.
right? Like your love language is giving him cookies, but maybe that's not your dog's. They want to go on hikes. They want to go do things, right?
You got it. And for us, it was all those activities. He went everywhere with me that was, physically involved. And I took up a sport called skijoring, which is...
Never even heard of that. Never even heard of that. Skijoring?
Skijoring.
Skijoring. Okay.
So I was a very devout downhill skier growing up, like very, very competitive downhill skier. And so this is on cross-country skis, and you are tethered to your dog.
Okay.
And just, Jesus, take the wheels.
I was going to say, just
like
over the mountain.
And those are really, it's quite popular in the Scandinavian countries, as you can imagine.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
And here I am, like the first time, I think I used my downhill skis the very first time. I used my own climbing harness from when I was in the mountain operations group. So I have my climbing harness, my downhill skis, and basically a bungee lead attached to this missile who's just like looking at me like, are we going? Are we going? And I just basically turned him loose. And we just went for like 10 kilometers of a straight sprint. And then I realized, oh, this is amazing. Like, you know, what an activity to do in the winter, especially for those of us in Canada.
Sure.
You know, how often do you get the opportunity to really run your dog in the wintertime if you're not on, you know, doing treadmill training? So yeah, this sport is cross-country skis is the right way to do it. And like real racing, like can be very competitive. For us, we're just going on the trails, having a good time. And I always joke, I'm like, if I'm not crashing into a tree, you know, once or twice, or like an epic bail, you know, that it hasn't been a good run.
Yeah.
But definitely, I mean, it's not for the faint of heart.
I can only imagine. It sounds like sled dog stuff, but like on steroids. Like 'cause you got one dog, you got, you know,
we've gone with several. So I've had up to 3 dogs tethered to me at once. And we'll go on like a rail trail. And I always say, like, at least for the first, if I can straight line it for the first, you know, kilometer, I'm good.
Yeah.
Because then after that, I'm like, oh, good.
And when you did the 3 dogs, because I know you mentioned he was food aggressive. Was he dog aggressive at all, or?
I shouldn't say no. He just kind of commanded the respect of the room. Like, don't mess with me, I don't mess with you kind of situation. And was that true 100%? No. He was very buddy. Oddly enough, he really liked intact males.
Interesting.
That's totally
usually not the case, but cool. Like
his best buddies were always these. I can think back to a German Shepherd that he was really, really bonded with early on, and then another Malinois that was and they were like, oh, maybe he had a thing.
And birds of a feather kind of.
Right? I don't know. He was just like, you know, little fist pump between bros. I don't know. And
I know you mentioned you lost him a few months ago. Do you have another personal dog now as well, or?
Yeah. So I have currently 4 dogs.
Wow.
I went back to 4.
Nice.
So I have Potato, who's a little mutt rescue from the Barrie SPCA.
Awesome.
She is a therapy dog in training.
Okay.
So she's in her probation year right now with a company called Watch My Six. So they do specifically service dogs for veterans.
Nice.
Awesome. Out of Petawawa. It's a friend of mine. She started it all. It's all volunteer based. Fantastic. So I got Potato in with her so she could be a wellness facility dog for emergency service workers.
That's awesome.
So she does that. Is she great at it? For us, she's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I have a 8-year-old Malinois that I was training for live find search and rescue, kind of for me learning.
Yep.
I got her quite a bit later in life, but she is absolutely outstanding.
That's awesome.
I wish I had gotten her younger because I'd love to have more years with her. Yeah. And then I have a 2-year-old Dutch Shepherd female who's also a rescue from the Barrie SPCA, from me eating my own words. And so she actually is going for her certification, hopefully end of this month, next month, but ideally before 2026. So if all goes, fingers crossed, right? She's okay. You know what? I'm not going to embellish her ability in any way. She does well enough. I think we'll be successful, but at the end of the day, I can only train what I got in front of me, and we'll see how it goes. But she is an absolute athlete, that one. Nice. She does treadmill training every single day. She runs 8 miles on a treadmill because I can't keep up with her. Yep. I tried to put my rowing machine next to her, and I was like, okay, if I'm going to put you on this treadmill, then I'm at least going to do a workout with you. Yeah. And after 5,000 meters on the rowing machine, and she's just like looking like she's warming up, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go enjoy this poutine from the food truck next door.
Feel that. How do me?
Right. So, and then I literally just, maybe it's been 3 weeks now, adopted a dog from the Netherlands military.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he, it was kind of just fell into my lap. I assist as much as I can with a Dutch Shepherd, German Shepherd rescue.
Okay.
And they posted up a picture looking for assistance of somebody who would be willing to take, I guess at 9 years old, they retire their dogs in the Netherlands. And he's a Royal Air Force single-purpose patrol and apprehension dog. Like, this is he's a real dog.
Yep.
And his handler, after I had a conversation with his handler, was leaving K9 and going to the police, and he had his previous dog from his previous time in K9, and couldn't bring this other dog. He only was handling this dog for about 3 years, and nobody else was willing to take him. So he asked a member of his family who lives here in Canada, will you take my retired dog? So they brought the dog to Canada in early July, and it was a lot of dog for them. And
it'd be a lot of dog for most people.
Most people, right? So unfortunately, he had I believe 2 live bites on a family maybe 2 family members, if I'm not mistaken. It was either a family member and a friend, but I know there was 1 family member, and one was not too bad. The other one was quite significant.
Yeah.
So, I just lost my own bitey dog a few months ago, and I thought, here's this crusty old veteran like me who just needs a home, and I was like, how could I not? Like, we've got this new facility, we've got the time, we've got the resources, we'll take him on. What's the worst that could happen? And I think
you said it's been 3 weeks so far?
Yeah.
And
he is
going okay? Or?
Awesome dog.
Nice.
Absolutely awesome dog. Like, I can tell you a couple funny stories from the last, 2 nights of what it's been like having Bo. But, yeah, he is an absolutely outstanding dog. He does not know he's retired.
So, kind of in that same vein, I know you mentioned he was a lot of dog, obviously, for that family. What are your thoughts on people? There's a rise in Malinois, and, everyone wants a Mal and a Dutch Shepherd now. For the average person getting a working dog, working line, a working breed, what are your thoughts on that? Like,
great question. You know what? Like, and one of my colleagues and I were just actually discussing this the other day. Are you going to get a tier 1 dog from every litter? Like, maybe one dog has the potential to be this absolutely outstanding working dog for, like police or military applications. And I should caveat, I am not a police dog handler.
Okay.
Like, I should make that very clear. I am a police officer, ex-military, who works with dogs that are not canine. Let's make that very, very clear. But what do we do with all those other dogs? And yes, we would like to find them, these wonderful, loving homes. Sure. And I think this sport world is fantastic for that.
Yeah,
to kind of
get outlet.
Absolutely. Oh. Does the sport world want these crazy, tier 1 dogs, as we say, these true, like, military, law enforcement, single purpose, or however you want to try and title it? You know what? And I'm lucky enough that I have seen some real intense dogs, but I've also seen some really sweet, good-natured, laid-back, easygoing Mallies and Dutchies.
Yeah.
So I think ultimately it always comes down to, are you bringing, one, have you done your research about the breed? Yep. Do you know the spectrum that this breed can produce? Yep. Are you going to get a crazy dog, or are you going to get kind of a more laid-back, chill guy? And then having an action plan. And one of my favorite trainers, his line is, we don't prepare for now what, it's then what. When you encounter something, we already have a plan in place for what to do. So if you did get a 9 out of 10 dog, well, do you know some good trainers or some good, activities to do with this kind of dog to channel that amount of intensity?
Yeah. Do you have the resources? Is your lifestyle conducive to setting that dog up for success and being able to manage, the drive and the energy and, everything that dog is going to need?
You got it. And, the question ultimately that we always like to ask, do Malinois and, Dutch Shepherds, do they make good pets? And maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but I think they do in
the situation.
You got it.
Yeah.
So, I will not discourage anybody from going out and seeking these kind of breeds, but I will definitely say, just make sure you do your education and be prepared to handle everything that this breed can throw at you.
Yeah, I think they can be great. I think I almost kind of liken it to, imagine if you just got your driver's license. Like, I wouldn't recommend them as a first car.
That is a great, let's put an asterisk.
Yeah, maybe not as a first dog. You're an experienced handler, and again, you have the management strategies, you have the outlet, you have, trainers and resources, and sure. Mm-hmm. But, if you just got your learner's permit, you probably don't go buy a Ferrari, it's maybe too much car for you. And, those things, they need to go. Yeah. Right. So, I think they can be great, but for an experienced handler and someone that has the right kind of lifestyle and situation to accommodate that.
For sure. And you know what, though, I will, not to go against what
Yeah,
you
no,
just
you
said,
can.
but
Please, by all means.
I have been, I will say, I have been pleasantly surprised sometimes by some first time, like whether it's even their first dog.
Mhm.
Sometimes I find those people are just like, they're all in.
Yeah.
You know, this is my first dog. I want to do right. And
Sure.
right off the hop, they're seeking all this incredible,
Yeah.
you know, outlets for this dog. And I've had people that, you know, they've 20 years with dogs. Maybe they're very set in their ways. And I'm like,
That's
if
true.
you're going to call yours, like, this is what you've chosen to do.
There is a good balance there where, you know what, think of like training a dog. I'd almost rather have a green dog with no bad habits versus a dog that's kind of set in their ways. Same as owners,
Yes.
right? Well,
Yeah.
this is how I trained this dog 15 years ago. And it's like, okay, well, things have changed since then. There's been new,
For sure.
new tools, new methods, new, you know, exercises. There's new ways to go about it, right? So, yeah, I think you're right. Having, you know, an owner that is eager to do things right off the bat, versus maybe someone stuck in their ways. I think there is value in that too. And also, I think a lot of people don't realize that, you know, a lot of small breeds or other breeds have, okay, maybe not just as high drive as a Mal, but if you're getting, you know, even like a Yorkie or a Jack Russell, if you're getting a Terrier,
Yeah.
oh, it's small. That thing has drive. That's, you know, that's,
100%.
again, maybe not to the level of a Mal, but if you think you're, oh, I'll get a small dog and it'll be a couch potato, probably not. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
You're right. Like, understanding, I always say to people, you know, find out what this breed was
yes,
bred
yeah.
for. Like,
Yeah.
you know, go all the way back. And I totally ate a huge piece of humble pie. Was it 2 years ago? Maybe last year. I want to say last year. I was down in Indiana at a place called Muscatatuck. It's probably the largest, and don't quote me on this, but I believe it's the largest urban disaster training area in North America. So they do all simulated disasters. So they have like a mock tornado alley. They have like a market that they've converted into like what Haiti was during the 2010
Cool.
earthquake. Like all these kind of simulated disaster areas. It's really, really cool. If anyone ever gets a chance, highly recommend, if you're interested in like search and rescue work, especially, get a chance to go down. It's nicknamed MUTC. Anyways, I was down there and this woman has a Yorkshire Terrier. Funny enough, you mentioned it. And I'm like, oh, look at you. You got your like lab and your little Yorkie support. And she's like, no, this is a certified earthquake disaster dog with FEMA.
Good for her.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And there I am, like with my, you know, Dutchie. And I'm just like, the Yorkie? And she's like, yeah. You're like, watch us work. And she puts this little dog down, and this thing is zipping and zooming into all these little nooks and crannies that none of our monsters are going to get into. And I'm just like, I bow to thee, miss.
And honestly, that's great. And that's
amazing.
Encouraging because, again, there is a lot of small dog privilege where people think, I have a small dog. I don't really need to train it. It doesn't need a walk. It can run around the backyard. If it's bad, I'll pick it up.
Or my parents, they'll push it in a stroller. And,
there's a lot of that too. And again, I'm not shaming anyone, but
I'm shaming.
You know, that's fair. You're allowed to do that, right? But you know, these dogs have drive. Like it's a small dog, but it's a dog. It's small or big, it's still a dog, right? And so, I think breed instinct, like you said, knowing what a dog was bred to do, right? How many times, you know, like I called, oh, my collie is nipping at the kids, or oh, my lab grabs our shoes, and it's like, okay, well, your collie was bred to herd.
Yep.
Your lab was bred to retrieve. It wants things in its mouth, right? So yeah, we can manage that, but also like you don't change the stripes on a zebra, right? Like that's what that was bred to do. It had years, generations of breeding for that specific task, and now you're asking it to lay in a condo all day. Like it's going to look for a way to use that innate behavior, right?
Absolutely.
So I try to tell people rather than fight that, harness it, right?
Yeah, like it's just something. That's why I said like sport work.
Totally,
is fantastic. The right kind of
sport work. It's a great way to do that.
Yeah,
and even like talking about drive, like a lot of like working line labs are just as drivey and just as much dog as like some of those other breeds. And people don't think like, oh, a lab. You know, again, I had a lab. It was a very chill dog. But those like high drive labs are they're a lot. They're a lot for the average person, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember like teaching my dog. You know, I realized early on, like, you know, on a walk, he wanted to scrounge. He wanted to pick up sticks or garbage or whatever. And yeah, I could tell him to leave it over and over. Or if I allowed him to carry something, he was satisfied. Right? A stick. He used to find Tim Hortons cups. And he learned how to pop the lid off, and he would just carry his cup around, or his little pink heart pillow that he would carry everywhere. And I was like, you know what? If that's going to reduce 80% of the pulling, let them carry it. What do I care?
I say,
right?
Like Axel, my Dutchie, who I was always like, oh, is he going to eat somebody today? I always say, occupy the mouth.
Yeah.
It was the same with Bo. I told all my staff when we brought Bo on, I'm like, if you're taking Bo for a walk, occupy his mouth. Give him a tug to carry.
Why not?
And
if he's willing to work for it and that's a reward, then great. Just let him work for it and reward him with it. And boom, everyone's happy, right? Problem solved.
Yeah. Axel would, everyone would laugh if you look on our Instagram and kind of go back to the Skajoring videos. In probably 9 times out of the 10 videos, he's carrying like a 60-pound log that takes up the entire girth of the trail. Yeah. And, you know, it's always very funny. Like, oh, Axel's got his tree today, and he'll carry that thing for like 5-10 kilometers.
Oh, yeah.
That was just, the guy had a neck like, oh my
Titan
God.
was the same. He wasn't sticks. It was trees. It was,
they're not sticks. They're not bridges.
It was like trees. Trunks that he would drag home and leave it on the porch. And then he would just, over the week, he would just collect them. Our porch would be full of trees, you know, and, but yeah. So I was looking on your website a little bit. Why don't you just a little bit about the K9 Ranger project?
Yeah.
So kind of tell us a little bit about what that is.
So I am a very small piece in that. Full credit goes to a colleague of mine. She's a police canine handler, and I believe actually, Hannah, please don't freak out if I'm overstepping, but I believe she just got the trainer position with her regional police.
Awesome.
But she is from South Africa.
Okay.
And she and I met years and years ago at a bite club, like a bite seminar. And just instantly we just realized we were kindred spirits.
Nice.
And so fast forward a few years, and she's putting together a team to go and teach seminars in Africa for various canine operations. So with my background as a medic and also, you know, having a dog training business and everything, I kind of checkmarked a few things on her list that made me at least somewhat of an asset.
Sure.
But she brought everybody who had, you know, like me, a skill set that they could bring. And the intention is that we put on a free week-long training seminar, and then we're there helping out for kind of any additional operations or, you know, playing the tourist thing. Yeah. And so we went the first time, I believe it was 2023, November of 2023. We were there for almost a month. By the time it was all said and done, I think it was almost a month. Yeah. You got to factor in like how many days it takes to get there too.
Yeah.
Because it's quite the journey.
And do your dogs travel with you?
We didn't bring dogs. There's some kind of there's some sketchiness involved when you're trying to bring dogs into a country like that, whether or not you're going to get them out again.
Sure.
But so the intention was that we would basically all the canine teams from across Southern Africa would meet us, and the first one was in Victoria Falls. And the name of the sanctuary that we stayed in is escaping me, but it was an elephant sanctuary. And the accommodations, the hospitality we experienced there was unlike anything I've ever experienced. Africa was in no way anywhere on my bucket list for a while.
Yeah.
And then I got there and went through that experience the first time, and I was like, everyone needs to come here. Like this was, granted, I had quite the privileged experience, but
still, it sounds like a great
amazing
experience. Yeah.
So basically, we had everyone. We had tracking experts. We had decoy and bite work experts. We brought another colleague of mine, Josh Rollins, who you would probably like very, very much. He's a former Special Forces canine handler, so he was there teaching things like small party tactics, movements. And then myself and my colleague Evan Nolte, who runs Paravet K9. He's a ex-American Special Forces canine handler and canine medic. So they actually have those specific
that's cool
capabilities within the American military. Nice. Nothing like what we have in Canada. So he really was like the real expert. He developed the entire training program.
Cool.
For like the medical component, which was what him and I were going to specialize in. And I very much kind of was, as we say, his 2IC or second in command. But my focus was actually, because he was going to handle a lot of the canine stuff, I actually took on more of the human medical aspect of something that we call TCCC, or Tactical Combat Casualty Care. So that was the first year. And it went amazing. Like, we just had such a good time, and it was so well received. I think we had just over 30 rangers. So the idea is that it's for the rangers, the canine handlers.
Is this a yearly trip, or
we would love it to be,
Yeah.
but we do a lot of funding out of our own pocket.
Gotcha.
We fundraised for it for quite a while, donations and whatnot. I was actually doing boot polishing to raise money
Oh,
for
wow,
like
okay.
military and
Love it.
police friends. I never want to see a pair of polished boots ever again. But I raised, I think, almost like $5,000
for you.
polishing
That's
boots.
amazing.
It's so traumatic.
It sounds like you guys have a really good community.
Very much so.
Of, like-minded people, similar mission.
You got it.
What do you think is the role of like community or collaboration, whether it's, like you said, specialty, like whether it's special forces or army, that, or just in the dog training community?
I would not be where I am today without the relationships and mentoring that I have gotten through my entire time. And something that I'm very near and dear to, or I'm very passionate about, is networking and fostering good relationships with, other trainers. Like, yes, I understand we are in competition with each other business-wise, but, sadly, dogs only live X amount of years. People are always getting dogs. There are tons of dogs out there. We need good trainers out there. And when you find other people that, share mentalities, or even if they don't, but you can, respect the professionalism.
Yeah.
It's so important to have those relationships. And, I have fostered, like I said, I met Hannah at this years later while we're still friends. She asked me to be a part of this operation in Africa. And, that wouldn't be what it, coming onto my plate without maintaining these relationships and fostering these relationships. And I'm very, very, very passionate about that. And in the business of Nordik K9 that I started, I wanted to make sure that I brought on other trainers that felt just as supported as I did. And, if they want to go on courses or if they have ideas, it's very much an, open forum.
That's awesome.
Of sharing ideas. And, the same goes for the other businesses in Barrie. Like, I want to make sure that when people are like, when my name comes out of their mouth, it's, she doesn't say anything bad about anybody. And, ultimately, we're all just trying to do right by the community and by the animals. So I always, that whole, the only thing that one trainer or two trainers can agree on is that the third is doing it wrong. I just kind of want to shake up the status quo and be like, let's all work together and really make this into something great. And it has definitely been more to my benefit than
for sure
than anything.
That's
and then
awesome.
yeah,
and that's a quote I may have said it in other episodes, but I'm sure I'll say it a lot. One of my favorite quotes is competition happens at the bottom and collaboration happens at the top.
Love that.
Right. And there's more than enough dogs to go around. It's not, we're not taking food off each other's tables. I think continuing education, learning from each other, and I don't get bring it to a political place, but I think these days, it's, in society is very like black or white, 0 or 100, left or right, red or blue, like whatever. Again, not to make it political, but it's a lot of like, well, I just can't associate or have dialogue with somebody that doesn't agree with what I agree with, right? And I think it's a little bit of a lost art, but I think there's a lot of value in having long form conversation and discussion with someone specifically who doesn't agree, and maybe finding a middle ground, or maybe going, okay, I don't know if I agree with that or that, but that's a good point. And taking the nuance from each kind of philosophy and applying what makes sense to you in your way, right?
You got it.
And so that's why, like, even in our roundtable episodes, like, I'm hoping to have, different nuanced opinions and, be able to discuss topics that, like I said, right now it's very like, if you use a tool I don't like, then I'm going to have an echo chamber and I'm going to only follow people that agree with what I agree with. And, I just think you lose a lot in that process.
You got
right?
it. Yeah.
So yeah, I think, trying to get it more to a collaborative place is helpful. And hey, not everyone wants that, but whatever, that's their problem. But
you said it.
yeah. And that's fine with me. But I'm happy to talk to anyone, whether they agree with me or do things opposite from me, because, in the training world, there is a lot of ego.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like, well, my way, and this is the only way, and I'm the best, and I've been doing this forever, and I know this works, and you have to do it like this, right? And there's different ways to do things, right? And I'm open to that, and I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm good, but I also want to continue to keep getting. I never want to get to a point where like, well, I know everything, and I don't have to talk to this person or learn from that person. Like even some of my apprentices, I'm like, I'm sure I could learn things from you,
Yeah.
right? Even though I'm mentoring you or teaching you, I'm sure there's things you do differently. Or like you said, that open line of communication. Like I try to tell my, the people on my team, like, I want you guys to feel comfortable, bringing up like, hey, how come we did it like that? Like, what if we tried it this way? And then we can discuss it, and maybe we'll do it, maybe we won't. But I want you guys to feel comfortable bringing that up so we can have that discussion, so we can both understand why we're doing it the way we're doing it, where we're coming from, what we're trying to accomplish. Right. So I think that's really important. And I think a lot of people maybe don't prioritize that as much. And, maybe that's the old guard, the old heads kind of, not phasing out, but like I think the new era is more collaborative, and
I would agree.
Hopefully that that kind of sticks, right?
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree. A lot of what I was trying to do. So we didn't have one this year, but last year we had the first ever LEADS seminar, the Learning Enrichment and Dog Training Seminar, and it was in Barrie. And I reached out to all the local dog trainers. Basically, I Googled Dog Trainers Ontario and sent personal invites to all of them. And the idea was, I kind of ripped off the idea from the HITS seminar, which is something I had gone to for several years down in the States. It's the Handler Instructional Training Seminar. They just wrapped up, actually, I believe in Dallas this year. And basically what it is a 3-day, it's a 4-day, I can't even remember now, even 5-day. We used to turn it into a holiday every year. And it's it's X amount of days, and it's always at a really beautiful conference center in some beautiful city in the States. And over 1,500 law enforcement and military canine handlers usually attend. And we all sit in these big conference rooms, and we learn from someone's up at the top, and they're just telling what they do. And I thought this is a really great, it's all theory based, obviously, but for people to be given this opportunity to attend these events and learn from subject matter experts, I thought I would love to have something like this here in Canada.
That'd be cool. I think there's not enough of that.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So we set it up, and it was obviously our first year, but we had 60 attendees.
Wow. Let me know. I'll come next time.
Yeah, right. I always bite off way more. I was really excited to do it this year in Ottawa, but just with the move and the business and commuting back and forth from Ottawa to Barrie, I couldn't make it work.
Yeah.
But maybe next year. But it was awesome. I invited to speak was the only Parks Canada canine handler, who happens to be a really good buddy of mine, and I'm gonna kick myself for giving him a shout out. But love this guy to pieces. Logan, he's out in Banff. And then we had Josh. He sponsored the event of Inline K9, that Special Forces guy. I had Allie Nesbitt of Grassroots K9 talk about the business side of the dog training world. We had a service dog handler. And you said, collaborating with people that you might not necessarily agree with. And yes, it was great to basically invite all my friends to speak at this. But I also invited a positive only trainer.
Nice.
Because I was like, you know what? I don't want to not give them an opportunity, and we can learn, even though I might not necessarily agree with their overall philosophy. There might be some really great takeaways. And how else will they know that we're not evil by using some of the tools that we use if they don't come and learn from this kind of
I think understanding is a big, because I would imagine, and I know I'm generalizing, but I think most of us get into this because we love dogs. We want to help dogs. We want to help owners and help build, a better quality of life for the family and the dog. So I think if we can find just that nucleus of similarity, right? We're all coming in it with good intentions. We all want to help.
Yes.
Right? Then from there, okay, how do we go about that help? Maybe we differ there, and that's fine. But I'm the same way. I kind of want to bring on positive only, or even compulsion, or and just so that I think the average person doesn't really know that there's different styles of training. Yes. I think the average owner just thinks dog training, right? They don't know that there's these different types.
Yes.
And I think it's helpful to just like give each side, like not like a debate, but let each side kind of present their case. And then the average person can decide what makes sense to them,
And
right?
you know what? I would say it is a debate.
A little bit, yeah.
And I think so much of, like, maybe not to, stand on my soapbox, but maybe we've lost the ability to have like proper debates where people can argue their, and have that back and forth exchange of ideas in a healthy and respectful way. I think what's been lost is that healthy and respectful way of doing it.
Yeah.
And, we don't have to agree on it, but, I like a good debate. I want to hear the arguments presented in a, educated way.
And I think that's, because obviously these days, like, cancel and, you use a tool, like you're abusive, cancel them.
Yeah.
I think, I don't remember who said it, but the correct response to, if you think someone's making a bad argument, is not to silence them, it's to make a better argument, right?
Yes.
It's show, why is that wrong? Why is this better? Why, let us know, right? So educate us.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I really want to, try to incorporate into this podcast as well. How do you find that your training, speaking of philosophy styles, how do you find that your kind of methodology maybe changes depending on if you're working like with working dogs or sport dogs versus like just pet dog obedience?
And again, I have to caveat, I have not put an actual operational dog on the road yet. This is still even new to me.
Yeah.
But I will say, at least from my experience of going through this and working with other trainers that have, I would say we understand consequence in a way that maybe the average pet dog or civilian would not understand. Our training philosophies come from a background where if our dogs don't perform, if they don't do the job, there are potentially lives at stake.
Yeah.
And so for us, when we have that mentality in the back of our heads, we are going to go above and beyond when it comes to our own professional development. And we are going to seek out people that are revolutionizing dog training and succeeding on the road and succeeding in these professional applications. And I think that is what probably sets us a little apart, maybe a lot apart, is that because we're doing that, it really lends weight to what we are doing. And maybe this is, I can reference this like back to when I was in the military, battlefield medicine is like 20 years ahead of civilian medicine. We get the opportunity to practice all these crazy techniques before it's ever brought to the civilian ambulance.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of the same in dog training. We're the ones that are really testing the waters with equipment and with techniques and things like that. And then eventually it kind of trickles down.
Sure.
And maybe I'm completely out to lunch. It doesn't have to come from a place of war or anything like that, but it could be, like what the avalanche
the stakes
dogs
are higher.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like my time spent out in British Columbia shadowing the avalanche profile dogs. Incredible. Like what those dogs are doing. It's so cool. Full credit to the teams out there. But yeah, like to take away some of what they're doing and how they're working their dogs. And again, a lot of them are actually like volunteer search and rescue. Like they're not military, they're not police.
Yeah.
But they're doing some incredible things with their dog training programs. And again, to save human lives. So I just do my best to try. And again, it comes down to, I've made some incredible networking connections that allowed me to go out and experience all these different applications of dog training that I've been able to bring back into my program. And I think it's successful because, again, we understand consequence.
Yeah.
And
I think that's, speaking of consequence and stakes, like, I think I saw a reel or a video recently of a trainer, positive rolling trainer, showing how to do rattlesnake aversion without consequences.
I think I saw this video.
Yeah. And it looked more of just kind of like, if I remember correctly, it's kind of more just redirecting the dog away from the rattlesnake, right?
Yeah.
Which is fine. Don't get me wrong. That's a helpful skill. It's good to have that.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't necessarily inherently tell the dog rattlesnakes are bad, right? It's just, okay, you have a strong...
Where's the context?
You have a strong recall. Great. Amazing, right?
Yeah.
Very valuable. But, it's like teaching an alternative behavior doesn't necessarily discourage the initial behavior that you want to be discouraged, right?
Yes.
And I think, when the stakes are higher, consequences are a part of life, right? And I think it's important that our dogs learn that. And I think it's important that we administer those in a fair, controlled way, right? It's like the lesser of two evils, right?
Yes.
It's like you tell your kids, don't touch a stove, it's hot. And you're like, oh, okay, that sucked. But you know what? Now I know I don't want to do that again, right? So I think that when the stakes are higher, you don't have a choice. Like those dogs need to perform. Same like, service dogs. Like, if your dog just decides, oh, I'd rather do whatever rather than alert that the blood sugar dropped or whatever, well, then you know what? That's a dog that's not reliable, right? So for it to be reliable, I think it needs clear expectations, and that requires clear consequences and clear rewards based so the dog knows this behavior is preferred, this behavior is unwanted.
I don't think I could have said it better.
I appreciate it.
I know I couldn't have said that better. So thank you. Yes, that you nailed it. And again, unpopular opinions, but this makes me think of like, are you familiar with the P's of positive punishment? The I's of positive punishment.
No.
So, and again, we're kind of touching into where some people might be cringing at the word punishment.
I know
when we talk about
it's been branded as this dirty word, but it's just how you discourage your behavior.
You got it. So when we talk about positive punishment in the quadrants of operant conditioning, we say it needs to be immediate, inescapable, and impressionable. And I really harp on impressionable as being really, really crucial. So inescapable, well, that's what the leash gives us. That's what an e-collar gives us. That's what the collar gives us. That's that inescapable. The immediate is obviously immediately following the behavior is when you have to deliver that correction. But the impressionable aspect, well, and the other thing I will caveat is the punishment fits the crime.
Yeah.
Jumping up on the counter, am I going to, punch you in the head?
Sure.
Not that I would ever.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. But it does have to be impressionable, and
it has to be enough for them to not want to do it.
Understand exactly.
And every dog's sensitivity level is different.
You got it. So, we say like, do we make the counter electric kind of thing?
Yep.
Well, is it going to be like, I'm going to fry you? No, but if I have a dog, in Axel's case, when he came up and bit my hand so badly years ago, was I going to just be like, bad dog and give him a light little correction?
No.
No, that was
of course
you and I are
this behavior is not in your best interest, and if you do it, you're not going to like what happens, right?
Exactly.
It's again, it's not a perfect analogy, and none of mine are. And I always analogy metaphor, I never really whatever. The example that I will use is like a wasp stings you and then they die.
Yep.
Right. So your dog has to know that, hey, if I go to bite mom, I get a bad feeling too.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to bite mom because then I get something uncomfortable. I get something unpleasant.
Yes.
Right. I think it's Justin Wrigley.
Justin Rigney.
Oh, sorry, Rigney. Sorry,
yes.
Apologize.
No, it's all good.
Now I'm bad with names, but I think I remember hearing him say at one point that the best correction or consequence is the one that the dog thinks the environment gave them.
100%.
Right. So he's like, maybe you set up an iPad or an old iPhone or whatever, and you FaceTime yourself. You go outside, you set up the nice roast beef sandwich on the table, and when the dog kind of goes up, maybe an e-collar, and you correct them, and now you're not around. So the dog just thinks like, the eye of God is just always watching.
God smites
right?
me.
Yeah, that lightning bolt just comes down on him. And that's the best one because you don't want your dog to only respond when a leash is on. Again, don't get me wrong. They're helpful tools and you use them at first. But eventually, as you add the 3Ds, like distance, right? Is your dog only going to do it when you're 6 feet away holding a leash, or can they do it if you're in another room?
Yeah.
Can they do it if you're outside, right? So, I think I really subscribe to I think the 3 I's is great. I've never heard those before, so that's great. And I think, having a consequence where the dog thinks the environment gave it to them is always going to make that impression maybe even stronger than when you're there to be like, no, bad, don't do that kind of thing, right?
That's interesting because I've always kind of learned the flip side of that. So I'd be very interested to hear that podcast that you're referring
I have to find it. I have to find it somewhere. I send it to you.
and maybe I'm out to lunch or I'm wrong on that, but I like for us, or at least for me, I was always told like the dog should understand like the correction is coming from you. And so I'd be curious to kind of know the flip side of that, like the environment, like where they think, oh, the ground electrocuted me or something
Yeah.
like that. And I'm using really terrible.
No, you're good. I got you. Hopefully everyone else is getting it too.
Again, I am not electrocuting my dogs. I am not punching them in the head.
I know, because, and honestly, we should clarify, because a lot of the e-collar haters will say, you're electrocuting. Let's maybe caveat on that word. Again, e-collars, yes,
like
stim,
stim, yeah.
more like a TENS unit, right? We're not electrocuting dogs. Let's get that.
And to be like, if quick anecdote, I mean, when I'm using an e-collar, it is rare that I'm even delivering stim like on a dog. Most of the times that it's there. It's, if anything, it's just an extension of me, and that's probably where I'm getting at with this. Is I want them to know the correction comes from me, because I want them to know that I am communicating my commands through them. So when I use things like an e-collar and I use a tone, for example, especially in distance work and forests, the tone of that e-collar, because I'm not using stim to recall, tone means come find me. Like that's
I do the same way. I know some people do, do it differently. Obviously, everyone conditions their e-collar a little bit differently. But yeah, I'm kind of the same way. So I've always kind of paired my correction with my verbal or whatever, right? That way, eventually, maybe the physical is not needed and the verbal is enough on its own. They've been paired together. It's kind of interesting. And that's, again, the nuance, right? Everyone has a little different way, different recipe, a different spice that they put in there.
And works for, circumstances or situations.
And I think that too is as much as there's different ways to do things, I think there's a lot of people get overwhelmed because there is a lot of information out there. There's a lot of free stuff, YouTube, Instagram, whatever. You can find what you're looking for. But a lot of people go, okay, I'm going to try this trainer's stuff for a little while, and then I'll try this one. And it's like, if you're trying 10 different trainers and you're applying 10% of each of what they're saying, you're probably just getting a really confused dog. Right?
I agree.
I'd say it's almost like, I don't say any method can work, but like any method can work, but like pick a lane and go with it, right? Be consistent. Let your dog understand what you're asking for. Because if you're trying a little bit of this, a little bit of that, your dog's like, hey, day by day, the philosophy changes and I don't really know what you want from me. Right? The
only issue I have with the online virtual stuff is you don't get the feedback. And maybe virtual isn't as bad because maybe you're at the opposite end of, a Google Meet or something like that. But yeah, like I think YouTube and it are great for maybe getting some fundamentals or for, I didn't think of that, but nothing really beats that like that.
Gotcha. And honestly, I think that's why people hire us, right? Because you're like, listen, I know everything's out there, but it's all confusing. I want someone that knows what they're doing to come show me what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong.
Is my leash pressure correct?
Exactly. Is my crate in the right spot? Is this, just like make adjustments for me. And I think that's where kind of the value comes in, right? So why don't we talk a little bit about the facility? So you've opened up recently. So what's the transition been like going from, kind of what you were doing to now having this facility, running, that type of business, because it is different. Having employees, like what's that transition been like for you?
Terrifying.
Okay. I like the honesty.
Right? Honestly, it's honestly terrifying. I am a soldier, like dumb soldier, now police officer. I don't have a degree in business or anything like that. This has all been trial and error.
School of hard knocks. It's undefeated. Yeah, it's the best way.
All my, we started off, I guess, like Nordik K9 started off back in 2016 when I was apprenticing under another trainer who just went, again, like the military, we all ended up in separate areas.
Sure.
And it was really just kind of like a tax write-off for me. I was like, I'm going to tax write off all my, personal dog expenditures. And and then slowly, I became more...
You're giving away the secret.
I know, right? Everyone start a sole proprietorship and write off your, that purchase. That's the golden secret. You're welcome. End the show right there. And then just slowly, my colleagues, my military colleagues were like, hey, can you help me with this? And by no means was I'm still not I'm still not a great, but they allowed me to basically practice, just like medicine. It was a practice and allowed me to practice on their dogs. So I developed my skills, and then I would just, any extra income, I would be going to different courses, different seminars, and learning as much as I could. And then it, obviously, like so many of us, it gets run out of your house.
Yeah.
We moved to Base Borden, where we bought a house in Angus that I converted the basement into a little dog training area. And basically, like I said, any extra income just went into purchasing equipment and building the brand and building up what we could. And then eventually, you know, I'm a full-time police officer. I don't have time to be doing full-time dog training. So it was like, you know, can I bring on a couple people that can?
Yeah.
So they really stepped up and got the business to a point where we had, in my opinion, enough equipment, enough knowledge to look at a commercial space at that point.
Awesome.
Was the liquid assets there? No. In all honesty, I will say no. And it's not like a kind of field of dreams moment where it's like, if you build it, they will come. It's like, if you build it, maybe they'll come eventually.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know anything about running a kennel or a daycare even, because we offer daycare now.
Yep.
So I really had to tap into the resources of and the expertise of my staff that I was looking to hire and bring on. And I would say, like, the trade secret, if you're trying to figure out how to get good people, is developed in yourself. And another trainer said this to me as well. You know, they are your apprentices. They are the ones that are truly buying into the brand. And I say, like, you know, Nordik K9, I may have started it and I may have designed the logo and all that stuff, but this is really the pet project of my staff.
Nice.
Their ideas are just as important as mine.
Yeah.
And
I think that, you know, for growth, at some point you got to trust someone at some point, and it's tough. It's hard. You know, I've been burned and I've had good and bad experiences, and trying to grow a team is honestly been the hardest part.
Yeah.
You know, finding like-minded people that are knowledgeable and good, and you trust, you know, to run your baby when you're not there. That's right. And then retaining them, right? Getting them, and then, you know, keeping them on the team, letting them feel valued and appreciated, and, you know, said that their opinions are worthy, and, you know, all that stuff is part of being a good business owner and a good leader.
Yeah. And no job is beneath anybody. Like, you know, the other day, Bo, that Dutchie, like, just exploded his bowels all over. And, you know, there I am, you know, elbow deep in dog poop, cleaning a kennel before my kennel tech comes in, because I'm like, this is my dog, and
you're not going to leave it like, oh, I'll wait for the apprentice to clean it. Like, it's dirty, needs to be done. You're there,
ridiculous.
Do it, right? Like,
exactly. So I tell them, I'm like, nobody is above any job. Like, you know, everyone carries the garbage out to the curb, kind of thing.
And I think that sets a good example for them as well. Like, if the owner is willing to get on their hands and knees and clean the poop, then I guess I am too, right?
Yeah. So we got this commercial space. We're at 51 Churchill Drive, Unit 4 in Barrie. Shout out. And
and tell people kind of where they can find you. Like, how do they get in contact with you?
Our website is NordikK9.com. So NORDIKK and the number 9.com is the website. On Instagram, we're the same, Nordik K9. On Facebook, we're Nordik K9.
Nice.
And then my trainers all have their own little individual, like, so D at Nordik K9, Levi at Nordik K9, and so forth. And that way, you know, it shows not just, you know, we have the whole brand, but then them as individuals showcasing their abilities, which I'm very particular about. But yeah, in terms of the business, I will say, like, for anyone who's ready to potentially jump in on that, dog training almost becomes the secondary job to running the business. And that's something that not a lot of people will tell or maybe have the I don't know, but
no, and I totally, and I'm just not about you, just in general. You know, I know a lot of people that are good trainers, maybe not as great at running a business, or vice versa. People that are great business people, but or great with the dogs, but maybe aren't as good at communicating with the owners, right? So to kind of have all those skills and round that out, it takes a while to cultivate that, right? And not everyone just comes with all those skills preloaded, right? Those are learned behaviors. Like dogs, those are learned behaviors. And, you know, I'm sure as you kind of dive more into it, you get more comfortable running it all. But what services do you offer there so people can?
So we have our everyday daycare. We have quite extended hours because I'm very adamant. I like to help my particular community as well of emergency services. So we open early. with the intent of being available if any of my colleagues who start at, ungodly
Crack of
hours.
dawn, need to drop off their
drop
dog.
off their pets.
I love it.
And then we're late and we make accommodations for them, especially. And then we offer additions in our daycare as well. So if, you want to drop off your dog and you're like, I would really like the dog to work on some socialization skills, then we offer training daycare as well. We have all of our specially designed dog treadmills as well. So we have a slat mill and we've got several dog pacers of various models where the dogs can come in and get kind of like a fitness program added on, especially during, the difficult weather months that we get here in Canada. And then we also have accommodations so they can do training and daycare. Cool. Training and treadmill sessions, or because we're right across from a green space, we go for hikes with all the dogs that come in as well, so they get their walk. Yeah,
you're in a good area there. You got a trail, you got
area.
Dog park, and pet stores and stuff nearby. So dog friendly stores.
A 5-minute walk to Cabela's that we can do environmental conditioning and everything. It really was the golden spot.
That's great.
So yeah, and we've got now an outdoor area as well, a fully fenced in outdoor area, which I mean in the heart of Barrie.
Yeah, that's great.
That was
that's awesome.
Yeah, so we really set ourselves apart for that. So we also offer board and train programs where the dogs obviously live in house with us.
Yep.
We offer different specialty classes. Our everyday classes too, like your general puppy classes, your obedience level classes.
I'll be a customer for sure. I'm going to take Xena to do some scent work.
Yes, definitely. And then, the specialty classes are really what I think set us apart. Our scent classes, yes, the CKC, CDDA, I think is what it. And forgive me, I'm not an expert in that. That's why I have other people that do it. That scent detection where they're getting the ribbons. And I can totally see why people enjoy that. I like stuff that's a little bit more tailored to the real world. So we started up a search and rescue sport club. So it's not just, here are some boxes in a building or, around and maybe a car. No, we're going to go and do some tracking out in the woods. We're going to set up, an article out in the middle of nowhere. We're going to do like little mock rubble piles and stuff like that. And it was something that was started, I believe, in Europe. They have a group in the US, and I believe we're the first in Canada to offer this search and rescue sport club.
Very cool.
So we're using, sport odors. I think we stuck with wintergreen this year. And people are coming out and really getting a lot out of that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So something very different, obviously, than like, agility or bite work. We wanted to give something, that was really probably out of everyone's comfort levels. The other day, it just like poured rain and everyone's like, is class still on? I'm like, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's
awesome.
that's real world for you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here, Elise. I appreciate you coming and having a good conversation. Everyone check out Nordik K9, Instagram, website, Facebook, all that good stuff. And if you're in the area, reach out and check out her services.
Thanks, Matt. This was awesome.
Thanks.